Good morning, good morning, good morning. Woo. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Speak On. I am your boy, R.W. Coolins. First and foremost, giving honor to the God who allows me to come at you in this manner on a weekly basis. I appreciate everybody tuning in this morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific. That's what we do here on the Speak On the Show every Saturday morning. Took a day off last week. Had some things I had needed to take care of, but that's neither here nor there. Let's go ahead and get these formalities out the way. Ryan Hoodie, good morning, my brother. Good morning. Appreciate you. And you know what? Let me give a shout out to everyone out there who tunes in, everyone who supports the show. And first time listeners, I appreciate you for tuning in. If it's your first time, make it a regularly scheduled program that you come into every Saturday morning. I appreciate you. Terrence Collins, good morning, my brother. Good morning. Appreciate you, bro. Appreciate you. Thanks for the support. rwcoolins.com. That's the website. You can go there, get all the information, all the links and everything is there. We're going to be updating some things on there as well. And I got an announcement at the end. So I'm going to make y'all hold off on that, on some things we got coming up. A couple different things to expand, the platform here is what we're going to do. I think y'all be excited about that. Big Al, good morning from Alabama. What's happening, my brother? Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you. 844-904-2665. That's 844-904-2665. No matter what the situation is, let your voice be heard. All we ask to say what you mean what you say. We come in as friends, we leave as family. That's what we do here on the Speak On the Show. I appreciate everybody tuning in. As I say, we do this every Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific, here on the Speak On It Show. Now that we got those formalities out the way, let's touch on this real quick. It's Unscripted Saturday. Let's start there. It's Unscripted Saturday. We got some things we got to talk about, some things we need to touch on, some things that are becoming the norm. They're becoming the norm. They're becoming status quo, per se. And I'm going to start it off with this. Everyone, well, most of you watched the Super Bowl last week. Good game. Very good game. Shout out to Kansas City Chiefs fans, Philadelphia Eagles fans. I know y'all might be a little upset, but you shouldn't be. It was a very good game. You deserve to be there. Defense just didn't show up in the second half. Neither here nor there. We're not going to get into the sports talk. But what I will say is this. A lot of people only tune in. OT, good morning. I ain't mean to talk about your Eagles like that, bro. We'll talk about that offline. My bad. I'm sorry. I ain't laughing at you. But look, so a lot of people only tune into the Super Bowl to watch the halftime show, different things like that. But here's some things that are going on around us that we see every day, we hear about every day, but a lot of people just blow them off as being whoever the people are that decide to say these things. And with the Super Bowl, you had Shirley Ralph, who sang Lift Every Voice. That's how it started off. Had some performance for it, but Lift Every Voice. Maurice Wigfall, good morning. Good morning. Appreciate you. She sang Lift Every Voice. Yeah, very good game, bro. And then Babyface came in and sang America the Beautiful. And then Chris Stapleton sang the national anthem. Normal process. They had to fly over, all that kind of stuff to get in the game. And then everybody was looking forward to Rihanna with the halftime show. I thought she did a very good job at the halftime show, as well as being pregnant, announcing her pregnancy in the way she did, without saying anything, just the visuals. But let's go back to Lift Every Voice. Because you have certain people who feel that Lift Every Voice should not be sang during the Super Bowl. You got some people that think it's too woke to be singing Lift Every Voice at the Super Bowl. But most of these people that have a problem with Lift Every Voice being sang at the Super Bowl are the same people that don't want to acknowledge the third verse of the Star Spangled Banner national anthem, whichever way you want to call it, because of the wording in there and what it stands for and what it means. But they have a problem with Lift Every Voice. The main people I'm talking about that are public and they've talked about were Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert. Now, I don't like to spend a lot of time on these type people at all. But in this case, I got time today. Excuse me, y'all. I'm trying to make sure something's right. Trying to do something here. I don't know why. Y'all bear with me. But I got time today. Marjorie Taylor Greene said, Chris Stapleton just sang the most beautiful national anthem at the Super Bowl. I guess she forgot about Whitney Houston, but that's another story. before going on to reveal the true intent of her post. And she stated, but we could have gone without the rest of the wokeness. Lauren Boebert tweeted, America only has one national anthem. Why is the NFL trying to divide us by playing multiple? Do football, not wokeness. These are the things that a lot of people tend to try to overlook. The statements that are coming from these people that are in political positions, and they're showing their quote unquote true colors, as they say. For a lot of people that don't understand, the Lift Every Voice song was started off as a poem. And it's for more than a century, Lift Every Voice and Sing has held a powerful place in American history. The hymn is known as the Black National Anthem, but it's more than that. It's a history lesson, a rallying cry, a pledge of unity, and as people gather to fight for equality and justice, it is an ever-present refrain. And I'm gonna give you a little historical background on who wrote it, because it's Black History Month. I'm gonna go into this. Lift Every Voice and Sing was written and composed by the Johnson brothers, a pair of influential men from Jacksonville, Florida. James Weldon Johnson and John Rosamond Johnson worked together their whole lives, first in show business and later in the pursuit of civil rights. They both saw artistic and cultural excellence as a key to Black advancement in America. James Weldon Johnson, the writer, from 1871, he was born in 1871, died in 1938. The elder Johnson was a lawyer, diplomat, professor, prolific writer, and poet, and the first African-American leader of the NAACP. At the time he wrote the song, in 1899, he was the principal of the segregated Stanton School in Jacksonville, Florida. That's where the hymn debuted the following year, sung by 500 children at an event celebrating Black history. John Rosamond Johnson, the composer, born in 1873, died in 1954. The younger Johnson trained at the New England Conservatory of Music during his long musical career. Johnson composed and performed in stage musicals and operas, and his work spanned multiple genres from vaudeville and traditional theater to spirituals and other deeply rooted African-American traditions. Now, the reason I bring this up today, after seeing the comments that I seen about singing Lift Every Voice at the Super Bowl and all, on the big stages they say, and all these type things, is because I want people to understand something about this song. This song was something that got people through. This was a song that during the time when it was written, during the times when it was sang, it was during the trials and tribulations of the racism that was going on in this country. And we're going to get on that a little bit later in the show, but I digress. This song helped a lot of people through their trials and tribulations, through their struggles. Some of our ancestors sang this song, hummed this song. Some of our grandmothers and great-grandmothers hummed this song with the understanding of what it meant. And it meant to keep your eye on the prize, keep your eye going forward, lift every voice and sing in spite of the situation they were in. But you have ignorant people, and I'm going to call them ignorant today, which I usually don't do out of my mouth, but I'm going to say ignorant people today who would rather look at the fact of calling this being sung as wokeness rather than the historical value of what the poem and the song is all about. Now, I'm not here to try to give a history lesson, but I'm going to give you some history. Some of the things that are trying to be left out of your students in your kids' classrooms. Something that is being written out of the historical value of this country and what this country was built on. Yeah, I said it. But when you see this on the stage where they know a lot of viewers are going to be and all this kind of stuff, and let's just be honest. Let's be honest about this. The fact that the NFL put the Lift Every Voice being sang and it's the pseudo Black national anthem into this process tells you everything you need to know about the people who have a problem with it. Because they had a problem with Colin Kaepernick taking a knee. AKA Chris Jackson, the same thing when he would not stand for the national anthem because of what it stood for. But at the same time, when you have things like this, and this is coming from people who were elected, let me say this now, I want you to hear this real clear. These people were elected into the positions that they're in by people that look like them, who they feel We're going to go in there and do the will of the people. But everyone in Colorado is not white. Everyone in in Georgia is not white. So who are the constituents that they're standing up for when they make quotes like this and comments like this? They cause more of the division than the people who talk about it after the fact. The cultural impact in 1900, when Lift Every Voice and Sing was composed, Black Americans were teetering on a fulcrum of history. The visibility and influence of African American traditions was growing, but Reconstruction efforts had failed to provide widespread opportunities for financial and educational advancement. Moreover, racism stood ready to close any door Black achievers dared to open. Moreover, racism stood ready to close any door Black achievers dared to open. Among the Black leaders of the day, education, artistic excellence, and the power of Black communities of faith were both sources of strength and precious keys to progress. To many men and women like the Johnson brothers who managed to find success, the rise of one Black American helped lift up all. In this way, Lift Every Voice and Sing was at one time a history, a proclamation, and a vision for the future. It immediately resonated with Black communities and institutions. In 1919, the NAACP proclaimed it the Negro National Anthem, a full 12 years before the Star-Spangled Banner. Let me say that again. In 1919, the NAACP proclaimed it the Negro National Anthem, a full 12 years before the Star-Spangled Banner was adopted as the national anthem under President Herbert Hoover. It is an omnipresent part of African-American worship traditions and an enduring refrain for great Black artists. 12 years difference now. But they have a problem with you calling Lift Every Voice and Sing the African-American Black Negro National Anthem. These are the people that we're dealing with. These are the people that you chose, and I say you because we all voted, I'm sure, that we chose to put in positions to legislate laws, to legislate our well-being as far as what happens up at this level all the way down to this level. And they have a problem with the history of a song that's being sang at the Super Bowl on the stage that it was sang on. But it doesn't stop there. And I say it doesn't stop there because, you know, people get in an uproar about the, I don't want to say most ignorant. People get in an uproar about things that they don't understand. Things that they don't understand. Things that they take and they run with just because. And this is something that I found that kind of jumped out at me. And I seen this on someone's Facebook page when I was perusing. And it jumped out at me for the simple reason of not what it stands for, but the outrage that came along with it. Now, mind you, this is a movie that's about to come out. This is a movie that's about to come out. Let me show you what this is. This right here, let me clear the screen up for y'all so y'all can see all this. This right here is a movie that's about to come out called Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. Everybody who's around my age and a little older and everything, even your kids may watch, grandkids or whatever. Winnie the Pooh was a revered, loved character back in the day. He getting the honey, him and Piglet or whoever it was, and I can't remember the dog name. Oh, you know the characters, you know, Winnie the Pooh. But this movie is about to come out. There was people in an uproar, outraged, because they took Winnie the Pooh, what we know him as, and have portrayed him in this movie as a serial killer. Okay. This is what Hollywood does. This is what happens in entertainment. But there were so many people in an uproar about this that I couldn't help but talk about this today, because I'm going to show you where this outrage is. This outrage about this movie, about a fictional character. Let me just talk about a fictional character compared to what's going on in Florida, where they're eliminating history, taking history books out, taking people that look like me, their books, their history out of the classroom, not allowing history to be taught in the classrooms at college levels, AP classes, all these different things. And this movie is the hill that they choose to die on. This movie here, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, they would die on a hill about Winnie the Pooh than they will about your history and my history and the history of anybody who comes here who is not of from the mountains of Caucasus, as they say. But this is the hill they want to die on. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey is a nightmare reimagining of the beloved bear. A horror retelling of the famous legend of Winnie the Pooh. Winnie the Pooh has just got real dark. A new horror film, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, reimagines the beloved children's book character as a serial killer, not exactly a cozy bedtime story. The indie horror title is currently in production by directors Rice Frake Waterfield. Quite a staggering directorial debut, if you ask me. The cast includes, and he's got some people's names on here, but, and it's got Winnie the Pooh, Piglet. Other characters include Caged Man and Mauled Woman, just to give you an idea where they're going with this. This is the movie. Now, in the meantime, I have to laugh, y'all. In the meantime, in Florida, you have had HB 1557, the Parental Rights in Education Act, which is the AKA Don't Say Gay law, which bars classroom, let me take that off there. We don't need to look at that no more. Which bars classroom instruction on sexual orientation or gender identity in kindergarten through third grade. In older grades, these topics must be delivered in an age-appropriate or developmental appropriate way and only in accordance with state standards. Also, HB 7, the Stop Woke Act, prohibits teaching someone that they must feel guilt or psychological distress on account of their race or sex, similar to educational gag orders with lists of divisive concepts based in numerous states in 2021 and 2022. HB 1467 mandates that schools maintain online databases of every book in their collections in a searchable format, and that these books must be determined not to contain pornography or material deemed harmful to minors, according to a library or media specialist. A recent training released by the Florida Board of Education encourages media specialists to err on the side of caution in this vetting process. We have people who will see these laws and say that they're okay. But these same people will see this poster for a movie and be upset. Why? Why? You will go out on a limb to defend a fictional character being transformed into a mass murderer or whatever they may be in this movie. Before you will defend the history, watch this now, the history and the freedoms of someone that you call your friend that is not the same color as you. You overlook those laws, you overlook those things. And let me just go here too. A lot of these people that are okay with these laws that they're putting in there down there in Florida, because I see you. Oh, I see you. But a lot of people that are okay with these laws and say they're indoctrinating these kids to become gay. They're indoctrinating these kids to feel a certain way, and all these different things they're talking about indoctrinating are the same people who, when you were in high school and out of high school, had that gay friend that you hung around with that everybody may not look the same at, but you received with open arms. Let me say that again. When you were in high school, in elementary school, there was that one guy that was a little different. He was a little different. But you chose to embrace him at the time you was in high school. You chose to embrace him at the time you were growing up. You chose to embrace his sexuality as he presents it or whatever he wanted to do. But now, from the outside looking in, you're being hypocritical because whatever these kids are expressing themselves and who they are, because these are the same people that when they were your friends in high school and growing up and all this, you accept them for who they are. But now you're okay with these laws being passed because you feel they're indoctrinating these kids with stuff that is in the same books that you learned from. Now, I don't believe, understand, and agree with everything, but I do believe in the right to choose. And these people should have a right to choose whatever they want to do, however they want to live, whatever lifestyle they want to live. I don't have to agree with it, but I should be okay with it for the simple fact that it's a freedom. And they talk about, we hear all the time about this country is all about freedom. But when you see these laws being put into play, they're taking away the freedoms that you think are only for certain people and eliminate them for other folks. And I can say this, I fought for this country. I fought for those freedoms that you're trying to take away from other folks. Yeah, I fought for the freedoms that you try to take away from me. But at the end of the day, you're in an uproar about Winnie the Pooh more than you are about who I am and who I am as a man and the rights that may be taken away from me. But you call me a friend, but I'm a friend according to circumstances. You have a friend that looks like me according to circumstances. Just saying. Either you're all in or you're all out. You're either an ally or a lie. Let's just be real about it. Let's be real. And they showed his ugly head again this week. Again, in the political realm, of course. Because in the political realm, people think they can say what they want to say towards people, and there's no harm, no foul, because they're political. This week, Miss Nikki Haley, I don't know if everybody remember, Nikki Haley, South Carolina. She was the one that, I think she was the governor at the time, took the Confederate flag off the top of the Capitol building in South Carolina. People went uproar about that. But as time went on, she was an ambassador under President Donald Trump for the UK. And now she announced this week that she's going to run for president in 2024. Now, a lot of people don't know Nikki Haley's history or her background. Nikki Haley's background, she comes from Indian parents. Her parents are Indian, who came to the United States at some time. I don't know the exact date. They came here to give her a better life. She's here, she's doing her thing and everything, but nobody paid attention to her background or whatever she was, or, you know, that she was, her parents were Indian or anything. But other than that, this week she found out from a statement that she made when she decided she was going to run for president, and her statement was this. She was South Carolina governor, I'm sorry. And she got half, it says this, and this is an article from Mike Creef, a staff writer. I think it was in the Grill. And it said, why Nikki Haley's America is not a racist country is a lie. During the first speech of her 2024 presidential campaign Wednesday, former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley said something that got half the country confused as hell. The Republican candidate had the nerve to say that America is not a racist country. Every day we're told America is flawed, rotten, and full of hate, Haley said. America, and then this guy, Mr. Creef, said America is racist. Nothing could be further from the truth. Any person who has been even semi-conscious in America over the last 10 years knows just how absurd the statement Nikki Haley said really is. We have entire generations who have lied through, who have lived through some of America's most racist times. The memories of being shot with water cannons etched in their minds, the bite marks from police dogs that were unleashed to attack them, or the increasing number of assaults happening towards minorities over the last decade. To claim that America is not a racist country when the very foundation that this country rests on is held together by the blood, sweat, and tears of Black people is to claim that America is not a country at all. And these are the words from Mike Creef, a staff writer. So let's back up a minute. Nikki Haley says America is not racist. But after she said that, Ann Coulter, staunch Republican, she came out and said, Coulter derided Haley, daughter of sick parents, S-I-K-H, that's a certain type of people. I don't know anything about it, so don't ask me. Parents in the U.S. and former governor of South Carolina for her Indian origins. And she said, Ann Coulter said, why don't you go back to your own country? Let me say that one more time. This woman who has served in these positions, governor and then ambassador, running for president now, been in the country for a long period of time. Ann Coulter came out and said, why don't you go back to your own country? And she said this because she's upset that she took the flag, the Confederate flag, off the top of the Capitol in South Carolina when she was governor. So she's saying, why don't you go back to your country? See how that works? See how that changes? When she was governor, they liked her until she took the flag down. When she became ambassador, Trump, everybody liked her. No harm, no foul. She's running for president. She's not American. Go back to your country. You don't belong here. See where I'm going? We all see it. We all know it. But these are the things that come out when you're trying to progress to another level. They'll say, whoa, bring it down now. bring. Come on back down here. No. You're not supposed to have any aspirations. You're not supposed to have any goals. You're not supposed to have any way of going forward. You're going to stay right in this little box that we put you in, and this is where you're going to stay. But America, from what Nikki Haley says, who Ann Coulter was talking about, that needs to go back to her country, her own country, says that America is not racist. But in this article, Mr. Creef says that someone needs to tell Nikki Haley racism is as American as apple pie. When Black ranchers are terrorized by their white neighbors akin to the terrorization by the KKK, that's racism. When entire communities are awarded more than $30 million in historic redlining settlement, that's racism. When those same communities have their property appraised at a lower value than when their white friends have that exact same property appraised, that's racism. When Black people are 5 times as likely to have their taxes audited, that's racism. When white police chiefs are caught on a recording using the N-word, saying F them Black B-word, B-A-S-T-A, that's racism. When imprisoned Black men are attacked by white supremacists orchestrated by prison guards, or the prison guards themselves attack a shackled Black inmate, that's racism. Hell, we even gave an entire name to the white ladies who practice racism in their free time. That would be Karen. So when you sit back and you think about it, and people want to say that the United States is not racist, you have to analyze what you're saying. You have to look at the actions of what the people are saying and what they're doing. These laws that they're trying to pass to eliminate certain things for certain people. When they talk about the farmers, I seen an article the other day. I watched an article on the news the other day where there's a Black family who are farmers, and they have been getting death threats and everything from the white farmers down the street and saying they're coming on their property and everything like that. And the Black farmers put up a camera that shows from their property onto the other property of the white farmer who has been putting all these complaints in about them. The white farmers put a complaint in, said that the black farmers putting that camera up is spying on them. The black farmers get arrested, are told to take the camera down when those cameras are no different than the cameras you have at your home to protect your premises. What is going on? See, I think we need to wake up to the fact, and I want people to understand something. When we talk about racism, we're not talking about everyone. If you're not racist, then it doesn't pertain to you. However, if you deal with racists, if you know racists that have this mentality and are doing these things, and you're not reporting it, or you're not doing anything to step in, or you're not doing anything to be an ally, then you're just as guilty. It's just like they always say about us when our buddies were out there maybe slinging on the corner and everything. If we knew they were doing it and we didn't say anything, then we're just as guilty. You see all the people they bring in with all these things going on with YSL down there in Georgia, with the RICO charges and all that, these rappers that they said had a syndicate going on. You see all of them they brought in at the same time. You see how now that the insurrection's over, now these Proud Boys are on trial and they want to have Donald Trump sit down, and they want him to be subpoenaed to call to the courtroom to testify what part he played in the insurrection. See how that twists? When we all along knew that he was the main driver of what was going on. And then we see in the news that Fox News is being sued, and what came out in these text messages is the fact that Fox News knew all along that Donald Trump had no chance of winning the election. He didn't win the election, but they put all these false narratives out there for their viewers to see, even though they didn't believe it behind the scenes. You may ask, why am I going down this rabbit hole? And that has nothing to do with racism. It has a whole lot to do with racism, because they're trying to disenfranchise a people. A lot of people. And what is driven by is white nationalism. But when you bring that up, nobody wants to talk about that. Nobody wants to hear that. Everyone gets defensive when you bring up white nationalism, white supremacy, racism. I'm not racist. No one called you a racist. But there are racist tactics being done in your face, around you, and you know the people are doing it, but you do nothing about it. But you may not be a racist, but you contribute to the racist things that are going on. Just my opinion. At the end of the day, we have to look at it from the broader view. You have to look at it from the fact of what I just read in here when they said Nikki Haley said America's not racist, and this person says, we have entire generations who have lived through some of America's most racist times. The memories of being shot with water cannons etched in their minds, the bite marks from police dogs that were unleashed to attack them, or the increasing number of assaults happening towards minorities over the last decade. But these are the things that have happened in the history of this United States that they're trying to take out of all textbooks. They're trying to take out of all classrooms. They're trying to take out of all history lessons. They're trying to eliminate that history of what was done to a people by a people, because they don't want their children to be looked at like they were accountable for what their grandparents did. But at the end of the day, why would you think that your children will be held accountable for what their grandparents or their great-grandparents did if you didn't think it was wrong? Accountability comes with action. And in order to be held accountable, you have to recognize what you're being held accountable for. But by eliminating it doesn't do anything but put people in an uproar who were the ones who suffered through what you're trying to eliminate. No one has ever said that everyone of non-color is racist. It has never come out of anyone's mouth. But what they have said, and this article says it too, America is a racist country. And as much as you don't want to admit it, if you look at the laws, if you look at the 13th Amendment, the 13th Amendment still has verbiage in there that deals with slavery and servitude, where if you're in jail, you are basically a slave to the system, where you have to go out and work while you're in jail. That's considered servitude. in California right now, they're trying to strike those things down and take them off the books, where you're not making, just because someone's gone to jail, that now they're a slave and they have to work for free. You see them out there when there's fires and all this kind of stuff. They have the prisoners out there putting fires out. So I did a crime and now I have to go fight fires. I was sentenced for something that I did, what I know was wrong, but I'm doing the time that I was sentenced to. But at the same time I'm doing this time, I got to be a slave to your system, as far as going out here and doing the work that you can hire other people for, but you're paying me pennies on the dollar. That's slavery. No matter how you look at it, it's slavery. You can call it servitude, you can call it whatever you want, but there's nothing right about that. When this author says racism is about as American as baseball or apple pie, you have to ask yourself. You have to ask yourself, is it? Or is it the fact we don't want to fess up to the point of understanding that what's going on around us every day, there is somebody that there's being racist actions done towards in this country by somebody. Just like they always want to tell you there's a crime happening every so many minutes a day. There's a crime happening, or there's a rape happening, or is there something, all these different things. There's a suicide happening. Talk about all these things that are going on around us that happen every day at a certain time, and how many times a day. They got all these statistics on that. But you see no statistics on how many times a person of color, or a person who may not have been born in this country, that someone has shown racism towards them because they don't agree with where they came from, what they look like. And most times, 9 times out of 10, hell, I'm gonna go 10 times out of 10, they don't even know the person. But we are supposed to sit back and allow you, and I'm gonna use the word desecrate, the meaning and the understanding of Lift Every Voice sang at the Super Bowl. Desecrate the performance of Rihanna on the Super Bowl stage, because she was chosen to be there. Chosen to desecrate the fact that Babyface sang America the Beautiful, and no one said anything about what he sang and how he sang it. They skimmed over the fact of that, but he sang America the Beautiful, which is something that, if I recall, we used to have to sing in school when we were cheering, little people cheering. Nobody had a problem with that. All I'm saying, people, we all bleed the same. Our organs work the same. Our minds function the same. And we all have the same goal: to enjoy this life for what it has to offer, and be able to achieve the things we want to achieve in this life without barriers. And when I talk about barriers, I'm not talking about the barriers you run into of a roadblock about finances, or a roadblock about this. Or I'm talking about the barriers that are man-made, that because you look a certain way, or you come from a certain place, or any of those type things, that a barrier is put up just when you walk in the door. The barrier is put up because of the way you talk. The barrier is put up because they would rather see someone that doesn't look like you in that seat, even though you're qualified to be there. They would put someone that looks like them that's less qualified. Equality, 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 equality. As much as we sit back and we think, because we were in the same classrooms at one time, where we weren't at one time, we weren't in the same classrooms, and now we're in the same classrooms. We're in the same buildings doing work. We're able to go and find the same jobs, apply for the same positions, and do that. There's still the racial undertones that are there. And now now with social media, with all the outlets that you can go to read and find information and do these and hear what other people's opinions are. You can go to these things and truly hear and truly see how people truly feel about maybe not you, because you're their friend, but those who look like you that they have never met a day in their life. The judging because they don't know them. The fact that you weren't born here, but you're here now, you're not worthy. When you talk about Ukraine, Russia, and what's going on over there, and you hear these politicians and certain people who say, you know, we need to get out of Ukraine, the Ukrainian people need to take care of themselves and all this. This is the same thing you would hear if something was to break out in Africa. Our interest is in the interest of who we think is well suited to do what we want them to do. You have Russian sympathizers sitting in Congress and the Senate, people who sympathize with Putin, who we know from what we read is a murderer, a killer, all these different things you can think about. And you have people that are doing legislation in this country that agree with what he's doing in Ukraine. But we don't want to talk about that. We want to talk about taking books out of classrooms. We want to talk about taking books out of classrooms and minimizing the impact of what someone wants to be because they feel a certain way about who they are. Everyone may not agree. Let's just put it out there. Everyone may not agree with homosexuality and who you choose to be your partner. But have you ever thought everybody don't agree with who your partner is when you're heterosexual? Have you thought about that? And then sometimes people will sit back and they'll talk about racism and everything. And then when you talk about the LGBTQ community, it takes a whole different level. They're put on a different level than what we're fighting for with the racism compared to homophobia. They'll come to the defense of them more than they will with us, but we're all on the same playing field here. So a person's sexuality is more important than who I am. Just an observation. I don't want everybody to try to cancel culture me or anything like that. I'm just telling you what I see. But when it starts trickling down and people and these young kids are starting to recognize and realize that they're different, the same parents, the same people who are parents now, who were kids back then who had friends that were different and they accepted them for being different, are the same ones that want them erased from whatever and whoever they may be. And we go back to that normal every day, every other month, one pops up. Every other month or so. This week's release of a black man wrongly imprisoned for 28 years has prompted Missouri lawmakers to push for restitution legislation. Lamar Johnson, 50 years old, who was in his 20s when he was last a free man, as of Tuesday, is now able to rebuild his life with the support of his loved ones, friends, and supporters, but not with the assistance from the government. Some lawmakers claim, according to the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. And it says, we have to restore people back to the place where the wrong has occurred, St. Louis Democrat State Rep. Lakeisha Bosley said. The Post-Dispatch reported, we're seeing more release for wrongful convictions and we shouldn't send them out to fend for themselves. What's going on in Missouri with Mr. Johnson? 28 years in prison. And in Missouri, they have nothing in the books, no laws, that if you've been wrongfully imprisoned, well, they do have something on laws, but let me just get to this. A lot of these states don't have anything in the laws that if you're wrongfully imprisoned for a certain amount of time, that when you're released, there's some severance pay, there's some kind of compensation for the wrongful, jailing, imprisonment of you. But in Missouri, and if I read correctly, and I don't want to get past myself, let me just read what it says. Bosley sponsored a measure passed in 2019 that raised the amount of restitution paid to exonerated individuals from $500 to $100 for each day they were incarcerated. However, it only applies in cases using DNA evidence on which neither Johnson's conviction nor release were based. So what they're saying is, if you did 28 years in jail, and then we find out you're innocent, which is what Mr. Johnson, they found out he was innocent. Because he was not found innocent due to DNA testing, he gets no money. The only way is if you went to jail and then they found you and they did the investigation, and then after you served all this time, the DNA tests come back and they say that you weren't the person that committed the crime, we got to pay you. But if it wasn't released because of DNA testing, or because we found somebody else that matched the description or anything like that, or any other reason, he gets nothing. Only if the DNA testing proves that you weren't the one that did the crime. House Minority Leader Crystal Quaid, a Democrat from Springfield, sponsored a House Bill 374 so prison exonerees such as Johnson can get financial compensation from the state. Based on the testimony and materials produced during a hearing in December, Circuit Court Judge David Mason on Tuesday granted the St. Louis Circuit Attorney's motion to reverse Johnson's murder conviction. The key witness in his initial trial claimed that after Marcus Boyd was shot and murdered in 1994, police forced him to name Johnson. A different individual, currently behind bars, admitted in court to murdering Boyd. In addition to legislation to recompense Missourians who have been cleared of wrongdoing and released from its institutions, I got to stop right there. This is the same story. Somebody who did the crime that they never investigated, they arrested somebody and told them to recognize the person that they want to put the crime on, that he did the crime. And after 28 years, now all this comes out. We see this over and over and over again. Nothing's changing. Bosley believes Johnson is owed an apology from Governor Mike Parson and the state attorney general's office, among other parties. According to the Associated Press, listen to this now, Johnson's lawyer slammed the attorney general's office after the hearing, accusing them of maintaining his guilt and being comfortable with Johnson dying in prison. While today brings joy, nothing can restore all the state stole from him, they said of his Valentine's Day release. Nothing will give him back the nearly 3 decades he lost while separated from his daughters and family. Johnson's counsel said the evidence demonstrating his innocence was available at his 1995 trial, but it was concealed or disregarded by individuals who placed no value on the lives of 2 young Black men from the South Side. Mason noted several constitutional mistakes from Johnson's initial trial in his ruling and found the case to have actual innocence, the Post-Dispatch reported. Johnson's legal team is collecting donations to help him rebuild his life, and as of Thursday, a GoFundMe effort for him had amassed more than $190,000. Mr. Johnson and other Missourians deemed innocent after serving time deserve nothing less than Missouri's best efforts to right the wrongs the state has inflicted. So you go to jail for 28 years, and they knew when he was convicted in 1995, they had the evidence to show that he didn't do it, but they never let it get out. Him and another guy. 28 years in jail for something you did not do. How many more are in jail right now? They have served multiple years, have lost their lives, their well-being, lost family members they haven't been able to see and talk to or any of that, that are still sitting in jail right now because somebody was told by authority to say that you did a crime that you were nowhere near. And I'm going to say this again, and I've said it many times when I talk about these things. You only hear this when it comes to people of color. You only hear this when it comes to people of color. And it's not just because the person said that someone did the crime. This goes to the attorney general, the prosecutor's office, the defense lawyer. Let's just go here for a minute. The person that was appointed to defend Mr. Johnson, what kind of job did he do in order to defend him for a crime that he didn't commit? What did he do to stop this? Court appointed or not, what did he do to stop this? Because I'm going to say this, and I'm not a lawyer, but I've been around long enough to know if a lawyer that is appointed to you, whether he's being paid or not, wants to prove your innocence, reduce your sentence, or any of the above, he can or she can do everything in her power or his power to make it happen. Don't give me this, well, we didn't have enough evidence to defend them, or we didn't have this. There are relationships in those courtrooms between the prosecutors, the defenders, and that judge. And there's some people like to say that good old boy network, that they all work hand in hand when it comes time for sentencing. When they go in there and they want to do a plea deal, say you're guilty for this, and we'll drop the charge down to this. Just like they do when they go in there and they say, we want the fullest extent of what the charges are held against this person, and your defense attorney that you got for you agrees with them and say, you know what, there ain't nothing I can do. But we've been sending innocent people to prison 10, 20, 30, 40. Some have died in prison for things they have not done. But about 85% of those that have died in prison and done 10, 20, 30 years for something they did not do are people of color. I don't have to look at the statistics. I've told you enough stories to tell you. And I've searched and searched to find one person of non-color be released from jail after about 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years. I can't find it that hasn't done a crime. But I have seen people of non-color that have committed heinous crimes that people like people like Mr. Johnson have done 20, 30, 40 years for, and then they get 6 months probation. I have seen where we get pulled over in a traffic stop and get beat to hell. And people of non-color will cuss the cop out until the time he pulls off. I just seen the other day, I didn't get all the information on it, but out here, there was a school security guard that they had something going on in another section of the parking lot, and there was a young man recording. And rather than the cop concentrating on what he should be concentrating on, he tackles the young man for recording. Put his knee on his back, damn near underneath the police car. What does he do? On paid administrative leave until the investigation is done. Do something at your job. Do something at your job that is not within the guidelines of what your job is supposed to be. And let me tell you, if they put you on paid administrative leave until the investigation is done. Only police officers get that option of being on paid administrative leave until an investigation is done. They don't want to rush to judgment. Y'all pray for me. Pray for me. Let's get into this. Mind, body, and soul, year 2023. And this year, it's about being you. You ain't trying to be nobody else. You're trying to get back to being you. And the only you that you know is you. Be better at being you. All them resolutions and everything. And I'm just gonna say this: we're in the middle of February. We're in the middle of February, and most of the people that had resolutions on 1 January have gone by the wayside. Have gone by the wayside. That's why I said don't make resolutions, make lifestyle changes. Make lifestyle changes. Make the changes that you know you can stick to and continue to improve on your life. That's what it comes down to. Mind, body, and soul. Today, I have a quote, and it simply says, "You are exactly where you need to be." You are exactly where you need to be. You know, I thought about this quote. Sometimes what we do, our human nature, causes us to see and visualize other people in a better light than us. It causes us to see where they are, what they're doing, what they own, and how successful they may be. And what we do is we see that and we think, wait a minute, that should be me. But we don't step back sometimes and realize that that doesn't have to be you. Where you are is where you're supposed to be. Good morning, Maria. Appreciate you. Where you are is where you're supposed to be. You may not have the shiny car. You may not have the 4,000 square foot home. You may not have the $100,000 or more paying job. You may not have all these different things that your friends may have or your family may have or anything, but you're where you're supposed to be. See, this is where we get caught up in wanting things that are not for us. What's for you is for you. What's for them is for them. And what you have to realize is just because you may not have what they have, you didn't get the short end of the stick. You didn't come up short because you don't have what they have. What you have is what you're supposed to have. And what you work for is what you work for and you deserve. We are all worthy for greatness. We were all created for greatness. But sometimes what we get caught up in is realizing and thinking that somebody else's greatness that we may view is better than ours. Let me tell you something about me, and I'm just going to go out on them right now. Everybody who knows me know I love some me, and you should love some you. And I never get to the point, and I don't want anybody to ever get to the point of comparing yourself to somebody else. Putting your position in a position of being less than what you see somebody else may have. We all struggle, no matter how much you got. We all go through trials and tribulations, no matter how much you don't think you have. But if you wake up every day and you're breathing, God has given you another chance to be great. He didn't wake you up in the morning to be looking at what somebody else have and wishing that you had that. He's waking you up for you to realize that what he's given you today in this 24 hours is what you're supposed to have. You're exactly who you're supposed to be. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. And you're supposed to keep on grinding because God has brought you this far and he didn't bring you this far just to come this far. There's too many things out here that you're capable of doing. There's too many things out here that you can accomplish. But what we realize and what we don't realize until later on in life, there's a lot of things we could have accomplished if we would have just accepted the fact that where we're at right now is where I'm supposed to be. Not what John's got, not what Jim's got. And I don't mean these people by no thing, not what Jerry got. I use all the J's, not what Big Al got. All these things are irrelevant to who you are and where you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to be doing and how you're supposed to be going about this life that is given to you. Stop gauging where you are. Stop measuring who you are. Stop measuring what you own around what somebody else may presume or what you may assume that they have. One thing I know for sure is this. I've got many friends. Well, many people I call friends. They may not call me friends, but I consider them friends because I love them all. But I got many of them. And one thing that I have never done in my life is to compare my status and my situation to where they are. What I make it a point to do is tell them how proud I am of them, how happy I am of their success, how happy I am that they're making it through whatever they're making it through. And sometimes even the ones that aren't at this level, that are at this level, I encourage them to keep on pushing. You know why? because that's what life is all about. Life is about fighting through the trials and tribulations. Life is about pushing forward. Life is about being where you are, receiving the fact of where you are, acknowledging where you are, and knowing that wherever you are now, if you want to be past that or bigger than that or broader than that, you have the capability. But it all relies in you, not what other people are doing, not what other people have, and not what you may perceive other people to be so successful that they aren't going through their trials and tribulations as well. We all struggle. We all struggle. And everything that glitters ain't gold. I know I'm getting you a lot of cliches today, but just deal with it. All the glitters ain't gold. You are exactly where you need to be. Stop fighting it. Stop comparing it. Stop being envious of others. Stop being jealous of others. If that's your friend, encourage your friend, no matter he has the most or he has the less. Because I guarantee, even the one with the most has the same problems as the one with the less. You just don't hear about it. And you don't see it because you see what they have, not what they're going through. Just something to put out there. You are exactly where you need to be. Don't ever doubt God. He's got you where you're supposed to be. He's got you where you're supposed to be. Let's go ahead and wrap this up for today. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Every Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific. Make sure you tune in. Make sure you share, subscribe to the YouTube page, RW Coolins, on YouTube. Go there. Also, let's go ahead and get into this. We got two big things coming up. Two big things. And I'm putting this invite out to anybody that's listening. If you know somebody, we're going to start doing, I got a recommendation or a suggestion. Let me put it out there. A suggestion from my brother, Big Al. So what we're going to do is, and I haven't come up with the time period or the concept. I have a concept in mind, but I'm not going to put that out there. But we're going to be doing something on this show. We're going to expand out. Speak on this show presents Barbershop Talk. We're going to do a barbershop talk where we have some fellas call. We're going to zoom in. We're going to come on the screen, and we're just going to talk about man things. We're going to talk about things that we deal with, things that we need to work on, things that we struggle with. We as men don't tell each other enough how much we appreciate you and how much we love you. We're going to have these conversations. We're going to have these hard conversations. We're going to be vulnerable. I want men that's going to come on here and be vulnerable. I don't want you to come on here for the camera time. I don't want you to come on here to just be listening. I want you to be vulnerable. I want women and people in this world to understand that we as men struggle. We go through things. And a lot of times it gets covered up because we got to feel like we got to be this, we got to be that. No. We're going to have these conversations. Speak on the Show presents Barbershop Talk. That's what we're going to do. And that's what we're going to have on here. So any men that want to sign up, shoot me a text, shoot me an email, rwcoolins@yahoo.com. Send it to me. Make sure you got a camera. Make sure you got a microphone. And let's go ahead and do this. We're going to have these conversations. And we're going to have them in depth. Also, coming to you. Big announcement. A certain vibe with me and my lovely wife, Pamela. We're going to start our podcast. Well, it's going to be a show podcast, whatever. She don't want to put podcast on there, but we're going to have our show, A Certain Vibe, starting. We're going to be pre-recording it. We're going to upload it. It's going to be up within probably the next 2 weeks. I got one coming to you. It's going to be the introduction, and then we're going to roll from there. We're going to talk about anything and everything, dealing with relationships, dealing with life, things we observe, all that. We're going to do that. I know y'all get tired of me always being on here, so we're going to add a little flavor to it. We're going to add some more people. We're going to bring some more people in. I've been doing it by myself for over 10 years now. Let's go ahead and expand this thing. It's about that time. So appreciate everybody, and I'll be putting those announcements out on the page, so make sure you follow. A Certain Vibes coming to you, and Speak on the Show presents Barbershop Talk. We're going to be doing this. Let's go ahead and do this. Any brothers out there want to get involved? Let's do this. And I'm also in the creation. She don't know it yet, but she's going to be doing, salon talk or something like that, something along the lines where the women can have their conversations as well. So I'm gonna be setting that up. So we're gonna expand this Speak on the Show platform and go from there, but we're gonna be doing that in time. So make sure you tune in. I'll let you know exactly when we're gonna be posting those things. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, do what you do with all the other things you watch. And as I always say, I love y'all, man. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all, and keep tuning in. We're gonna take this thing to another level, because what I'm trying to do is give you things that you don't hear everywhere else. I'm going to give you things where we can have these conversations, and we walk away from these conversations not being angry, not being where, I didn't know this. We're going to leave here knowing that we can lean on each other to get a better understanding of what's going on in this world. That's what we're going to do. That's how we're going to do this. I appreciate y'all. And Hey, keep tuning in. As I always say before I sign off, love yourself, love one another, keep your head up, and most definitely keep your faith in God. I appreciate y'all, and I'll see y'all again next week, next Saturday morning. And look, be safe out there. There's some people in this world that don't have your best interests at hand. Be safe out there and keep your head up. Love y'all. I'll holler. Peace.